Welcome back, and of course, thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Rapid Down right here on Rapid Television, and right now it's time for the big conversation. My name is Victor. Okay.
My name is Martha Alu. Of course, like he said, the big conversation, and we're doing extensively updates on the report of the happenings in Jos Plateau State.
Yes, Nigeria is once again grappling with violence that has left communities shaking and families mourning. In the midst of Easter celebrations, what should have been a time of peace and reflection has instead turned tragic for residents of Jos Plateau State. Stories of loss, displacement, and insecurity are dominating headlines, highlighting once more the urgent need for lasting solutions to recurring attacks across parts of the country. On Palm Sunday, recall that gunmen stormed Angwarukuba and Gari Yahweh communities in Jos North local government area, opening fire on residents, traders, and churchgoers. Local officials and security sources confirmed that at least 28 to 40 people were killed and several others were injured in the attacks. The assailants reportedly moved on motorcycles and struck late in the evening. Well, the Plateau State government, led by Caleb Mofwang, immediately imposed a 48-hour curfew in Jos North beginning March 30th to curb further attacks and restore calm. The curfew, of course, was later adjusted to allow limited movement from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily for essential activities. Also, Governor Mufwang, after the incident that happened on the 29th of March, condemned the killings as barbaric, senseless, and unprovoked, and directed security forces to enforce measures including a ban on motorcycle operations within the metropolis. However, on Wednesday, April 1st, 2026, there was a reported attack that happened in Jos Plateau State. And after that attack, the governor briefed the president on the situation and state efforts to contain the crisis. Following that particular briefing, the president rescheduled a planned trip to Ogun State to visit Jos on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026, to meet victims' families and assess the response firsthand. Also, the Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, has ordered increased deployment of police and tactical teams in Plateau with directives for community engagement and visible patrols to prevent further bloodshed. Even with the partial relaxation of the curfew on April 1st, tensions still remain high. Institutions like the University of Jos evacuated students from hostels to ensure their safety, while residents continue to call for long-term measures to break the cycle of violence. Well, today we are being joined by a resident in Jos, to give us, his insight on the issue, Emmanuel Kinaro Ishaya. Good morning, and thank you for being here with us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Emmanuel. I hope you had a fantastic rest.
Good morning. Fantastic over here is a little bit on the low side.
I know, right?
But yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Emmanuel, for being here with us. Do tell us what part of Jos you reside, and also give us an account of the renewed attack that happened last night.
Okay, I actually stay in Angwarukuba, the community that was attacked on Sunday.
Okay.
Do give us the account of the situation from what happened on the 29th
Sunday,
and also the renewed attack.
Okay, every person who knows Angwarukuba knows that Angwarukuba is a very peaceful place that and we live as communal people. On Sunday, unfortunately, at around 7:30 p.m., the people were as usual gathered in different locations in Angwarukuba, discussing and trying to celebrate the upcoming Easter and all that, only to hear rapid shooting. Now, what happened was that we had some people coming down from a Sharon car at Angwarukuba Junction precisely. Now, when they stepped down, it was looking like, because there's this normal raiding that happens around that same axis. There's this normal raiding by NDLEA, most times drug law. When they come, we have those kind of shootings, and people were thinking it was exactly the same thing that was happening. Unfortunately, unknown to us, it was some gunmen that was actually doing that as of that moment. The youth just ran away thinking, okay, this is the usual thing, only for them to discover that the shooting lasted longer than normal, and then people were getting injured, which was not normal. So on coming back now to be able to maybe ascertain exactly what was happening, everybody was they were just shooting, randomly shooting everybody they could see as of the moment. So people still ran for their lives. For them, some people ran all the way, entering shops. They followed them to those kind of shops. Like, for example, at the junction, there is somebody that has a chemist there. They shot like 2 people inside the shop. Would I say, fortunately, they were not able to shoot the owner of the shop because he was well hidden. Now, when the youth discovered that this shooting was getting much, they ran all the way to Gariawaye. I heard you make mention of Gariawaye. Now, at that Gariawaye, we had 2 trucks that blocked the youth from actually accessing that road when the gunshot was going on. Now, as they blocked it, the youth were pleading with them, that is, they should let them pass so that they can access that road. The soldiers refused.
Okay.
In fact, at the point, they slapped one of the youths. Now, still trying to do that. Mind you, those gunshots were still going on, even as of that moment where they were pleading with the soldiers to actually have access to that road, because that was the route that the gunmen used in escaping from the community. Now, down in that same community that they entered, that Gariawaye, they were still shooting people as they were going down that place. I have a friend who stays down that area that told me they passed in front of his house and then they shot 2 more people with children. Now, the soldiers, when they got down there, they were telling the community people down at that Gariawaye that they should go back inside their houses. This movement does not concern them. Wow. These are military men I'm talking about.
Oh, it was a military that was saying to them to go back into their houses.
Yes, that it doesn't concern them. So at the end of the day, they blocked these guys until they were able to escape before they give access to the youths to be able to go down that Gariawaye community. And after 10-15 minutes, the military men left.
Without actually going to assess the impact of the shooting in the community.
Yes. All they just did was serve as blockade for these people when they were doing whatever it is that they were doing inside Gariawaye community.
Okay, so do you think that the police at any point from your analysis or your story, do you think that the police or whatever security personnel that was represented at that blockade, do you think that they were at any point accomplices to whatever had happened in the Angwan Rukuba community?
That is exactly what we are thinking. That is what we are thinking, but we don't know because we can't ascertain that. They were to serve as security men for us, but the way the whole thing played out to us, it didn't feel that way.
Okay.
So that is it on that part.
All right, thank you very much. Also, when we were trying to gather information about the incident, in Angwan Rukuba, because of course for the longest we have heard that the attacks in Jos Plateau is not a genocide. We have seen Pastor Israel that Chomo come out to say it's a genocide, it's targeted at Christians, and in fact we got to understand that in Jos you guys live separately. So the Christians have their own part in Jos, the Muslims have their own part in Jos. So once you come to a community like the Angwan Rukuba that is majorly, a Christian environment, it means that it is targeted at them alone. So I just want you to confirm, seeing as you reside in the Angwan Rukuba community, in fact the analyst talking about that story said that if you find a Muslim where a Christian resides, they are probably there for business and they will go back to their houses. Went as far as explaining that there was a time when something of the like happened in Jos and the crisis erupted, that people who owned houses in Christian communities had to swap their houses with people who lived in the Muslim community. So it's more like, I'm in the Muslim community and I'm Christian, you're in the Christian community and you're Muslim, let's swap houses so that we can all live within this community. Is this the exact account, or is this how you live in Jos? Because this can better help us understand whether or not it was a targeted attack or it was something that just happened.
Yes, of course, that's how we actually live in Jos, and that account really happened. That was what happened before now. That was the earlier part of the crisis. People swapped houses to be able to stay in dominated, Muslims staying in dominated areas, Christians staying in Christian dominated areas. Yes, that's exactly the situation actually. Even currently, we do not stay mixed. It's very hard for you to say community that stay mixed. You see a Muslim will always be on their own part and Christians will also be on their own part.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
so you think that this is like coordinated or targeted towards the Christians?
I feel it is actually coordinated. But there is one thing I also look at, and that's the fact that I feel there is an instigation here.
Okay.
I feel this is an instigated attack as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not just looking at just Christians here.
Absolutely.
I know that it is painful to see that it is the Christians that are majorly under this attack, but I would not 100% just say it is all about the Christians. No, I feel it is a targeted attack to see that they will stimulate a fight between the Christians and the Muslims to be able to achieve something. That is my own
analysis. Okay.
We also hear that the Inspector General of Police deployed troops to Plateau State just recently. Have you seen security personnel presence active in Jos recently? I mean, as of today.
Honestly, yes. The police have tried their little quarter in being on ground wherever it is that there's violence. Actually, they've done that part.
Okay. Now, have there been any official arrests or identification of any perpetrators? Because the last attack that happened in Jos, we see that 4 suspects were paraded, as people that participated in the attack. But for this, we haven't got any information whatsoever as to whether or not arrests have been made or identification at any point has been made.
So far, we are yet to also hear from. We're also waiting to see if there is anything like that. For now, we've not heard or seen anything, and we are also anticipating that such will also happen.
Okay.
Now, talking about returning to normal life as it is, well, of course, we did also see that there was a renewed attack that happened yesterday. But how are the people of Plateau State living right now? Are people scared to return to their normal life, or the fear is still very much heightened?
People are actually scared of returning back to their normal lives. Why I say this is because yesterday, as the lockdown was relaxed, people went about going to their jobs only to end up in situations that they never thought would actually happen. So a lot of people right now are actually scared. Even if they will open this lockdown or open the curfew, I feel people will still be skeptical on actually going out because the safety is not really guaranteed.
Yeah. Do describe to us basically as well, because you are in the community, and I'm sure you've seen some of the families that were affected directly by these attacks. Please describe to us, how it felt like for these families during these attacks. How are they taking it? How are they living? How are they coping in this situation? Just give us some detailed account on this as well.
Honestly speaking, this part is really, really painful. In fact, almost everybody, I actually know them. Now, talking about the way people are taking it, honestly speaking, it is not easy. But definitely we are Christians here, and we have this heart of forgiveness. But there is this woman that actually lost her son, her only child, and her pictures have actually been going up online.
Yeah, that's Promise's mom.
Yes.
Okay.
She's not finding it easy at all. And I have brothers who lost. I have a brother who lost his father, and the father was actually just sitting in front of their house. That was where he was shot. Sitting right in front of his house, like in the comfort of his house. That was where he was shot. And I have friends who were shot sitting down in front of their houses. Others in a shop where they went to actually purchase something. That was where they were shot. And in fact, the whole community is just not stable right now. Everybody is undergoing emotional trauma because experiencing something like this, and in fact, these families are not far from you. These are families you know. These are people, in fact, you even communicate with. there was like the man that my friend that lost his dad.
Yeah.
His dad was actually sitting inside. Then he told him that he just wants to take some air because he's not feeling too good, only for him to come out, and that was the end of him. And that child, the boy, his birthday was the next day. So imagine how he was going to celebrate his birthday knowing that his father was dead. They promised mom also the same thing. The child also promised his mom something for her birthday, something very big. And at the end of the day, he's dead. So I can only imagine the way they are. You can only imagine the way they are feeling. We that are actually related to them is actually not funny at all.
Not at all.
And we have to attend this burial at the end of the day.
Okay. There were speculations that the burial was slated to take place today because it's a mass burial, and because of the recent outbreak again in Jos, this has been moved. Can you confirm this and just let us know what plans the Plateau State government has in place for victims of this unfortunate event?
Yes, the governor during his speech said he would not allow mass burial because that is the people say they don't want mass burial. So he said he's going to compensate every family that was attacked, and then he will take care of the bills of those who are still in the hospital, and the burial he will take care of everything. So yes, the burial has been suspended. It was supposed to be today, even though we have a few people who actually did theirs. We have somebody called Serkin Yaki, and Serkin Yaki simply means king of war, something like that. His burial is actually happening today at Maza, one of the villages. But then the vast number of the people are actually going to be will be doing the burial next week. It has been postponed to next week. Yeah, so that's it.
Emmanuel, tell us, were there warning signs, talk of intelligence sharing, that the government might have ignored, or even security personnel might have ignored, that led to the successful attack that happened both on Sunday and also yesterday?
Yes, I would say yes, because we had social media postings on something like this, saying that after the fasting and all, they would attack Angwarukuba. And yes, he said that, a content creator said that, and then even though...
Sorry, Emmanuel, are you speaking about Maha now? Because there have been talks about Maha recurring, on social media. Are you referring to Maha now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he has spoken a lot, and then he said some of those things, and some of those things are actually happening right now. So I felt that the government would have actually tackled somebody like that to be able to make the situation a little bit lesser. But it feels like they just took the entire talk for granted. But half of the things he said are actually happening right now.
Wow.
And one would expect that should be the first point of investigation when the military comes up. He has said something exactly like that, which means that you probably know something, or you have heard something, or probably are part of the group that carried out this attack. You cannot say, because there's so many aspects that you want to look at. The precision with which he said it and with which it happened actually on that day. So one would expect that the police or the necessary bodies will pick such a person up and begin investigations with such a person. But I understand that he's still, walking freely everywhere around. Now, let's talk about Jos in particular. For a very long time, Jos has been very vulnerable to ethno-religious crisis, because most of the crisis in Jos is just because of how vulnerable each party is. The Christians are vulnerable, the Muslims are vulnerable. So any little thing sparks up violence between these different ethnic groups. Now, can you explain to us why this is so, and from your recommendation as someone who has lived for a while in Jos and is now in the community where the most recent attack has happened, can you just give us a bit of analysis as to why you think this is and how this problem can be solved? Because I think that this is the foundation of most of the crisis we have within Jos Plateau State.
Honestly speaking, thank you for this. Fortunately or unfortunately, I've been on ground almost all the incidents that have happened in Jos.
Okay.
And I would say that the Christians and the Muslims are just being very, very unanalytical about this thing. Because for me, I feel the whole of this is something political. They are trying to instigate things so that they get what they are looking for. As a Christian, I don't feel it is my Christian brother that is, as a Christian, I don't feel it's my Muslim brother that is doing this. I feel it is an instigation, you know, trying to make spark fire for us to actually fight. Looking at, I was watching some of the videos and some of the situations, you will get to understand that these people, both the Christians and the Muslims, were both ignorant of the exact situation on ground. Because this attack, this last attack was not by, yes, it was by bandits. Because by every testimony, by every story, by everybody who I've spoken to, who has been on ground firsthand, who has encountered the entire situation, you will get to know that this thing was done by some set of people who are deliberate on actually achieving something.
Okay.
So as a Christian, I feel it is very important we get to look at it from this perspective, that if a Muslim brother really wants to attack, I feel he will not come in a very small number so that at the end of the day we start the fight. No, they will just come out and fight.
And I understand that they are the minority. I understand that they are also the minority in Jos.
Yes.
Okay.
The truth is, Muslims were accommodated. They were accommodated. The real, we have indigenes. It's not everybody here that is a Muslim or is a Hausa speaking somebody, because people feel people from Jos are just all Hausas. We have indigenes, we have natives of the land.
Okay.
So I just feel that Christians should look deeper into this thing. They will get to understand that all these things are just instigations to see that we don't remain in peace. If we are united, then we will understand exactly what is really happening. That the politicians are playing with our lives to get what they want. We are talking about natural resources here. There is a lot of natural resources here on the plateau. But unfortunately, the youth do not really understand the perspective at which these people are coming from. Half of the communities that you notice that have been attacked and people are being displaced, you will discover that there are natural resources in such kind of communities. And you get to discover that who is really out there to gain from these natural resources. Because a normal individual cannot be able to put together what it will take to convert these natural resources, maybe sell it out. A normal human being will not be able to do that. But the government have the power to be able to do that. Some political people have the power to be able to do that, to be able to make gain out of these things. So I feel some people are out there to really make gain, and then they are using us to actually achieve their heart desires.
Well, how can this be sorted out now? Because we have stated the problem that most of the crises within those communities are actually instigated. So what can we do, or what can the people of Jos Plateau do to ensure that there is peace? Because I feel like if the tension between both religions significantly reduces and these parties now understand each other, then they can work together to achieve a common goal, which will be completely cleansing the Jos Plateau of the bandits and criminal attacks that happen within their communities time and again.
Yes, I feel this is where our religious leaders should come in. All this while, I've also been asking, what are our religious leaders really doing about this? Yesterday, somebody was here in Angwarukuba, a pastor. He was here in Angwarukuba, and he was trying to see how we come together and then have a talk. I feel personally, as an individual, right, I feel that if the leaders can come out together, have a talk, have an understanding, then be able, because I'm very sure as a Christian we listen to our pastors, and as Muslims they listen to their imams. If we can be true to ourselves, let the pastors, let the leaders meet together, have a very good in-depth talk, and then see how they can come to an understanding and then still relate back to their people. I feel that will go a long way.
Okay. All right.
I feel that will go a long way.
All right, Emmanuel. Earlier you did mention, of course, or you confirmed the presence of security personnel in Plateau State, just precisely, even as we were speaking. But also, I'd love to ask, does the people of Jos trust the security right now that you're seeing right now in Jos? Or are there plans, have the community rallied around to provide security for themselves?
This is where I would love to move the motion of community policing first.
Okay.
Community policing, I feel, will go a long way. It is something that is under deliberation, and I feel this is the best time to actually move it forward. Anyways, talking about trust for the security personnel, not really. The people do not really trust the soldiers currently. I feel we work more with the police and mopos currently, but that of soldiers currently around Angwarukuba, nobody wants to even see the presence of a soldier man.
Wow.
Of the military man, yes. Okay. So basically our trust is more on the police rather than even the military.
Are there vigilante groups, are there security groups as well that people within the community have also created to help in assisting or even protecting yourselves there in Jos, beyond the police? Yes, now?
Yes, the community police is actually really working right now. We have a lot of our youth who are also part of the vigilantes, and they are doing in fact, 90% of the work
resides in the Angwan Rukuba community of Jos Plateau State, where the most recent attacks have been. Now, the death toll, as reported by the government of Plateau State, says about 28 people have been killed. Other reports says about 40 or more people have been killed during the attacks in Angwan Rukuba community. Now, during our chat with Emmanuel, he made it clear that the funeral, the people rejected any sort of mass burial, because I mean, we've had a number of them, in Jos in the last couple of months, and these people want to bury their dead individually. The government has committed themselves to covering the cost of what this would be. And for people who were injured and are in critical condition and are still in the hospital, the government of Plateau State and the governor particularly has pledged support in clearing out the bills for these people. We're still having Emmanuel back on the line, and we'll have more questions fielded towards Emmanuel. Welcome back, Emmanuel. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I know that you made mention of some responses from the government and all of that, but do you think, let me rephrase that, what do you think are the intelligence gaps that made this attack happen yet again in the Angwan Rukuba community? Says there are gaps in intelligence or coordination by the military that must have allowed for this attack to take place again in Angwan Rukuba. Can you help us identify some of these gaps you think that the government and the security operatives should look into to better shield the people of Jos Plateau State?
All right. So I feel that the security organization or agencies can actually consider listening to the people, because if they did listen to the people have been talking about this same man who has been on social media parading and saying things. People have actually literally pleaded with the government to actually go and pick up this guy, amongst others. So I just feel that if they can listen to the people some more, that will go a long way. And then also, if they can help us be true and real. And what I mean by true and real is it not possible to actually reduce the number of camouflage that these people do wear? Because on that day of the attack, we had some of these bandits wearing some sort of camouflage. So these are things that can be regulated, I feel. And if the security people will also help us trust them, because as of now that I'm speaking to you, the Angwarukupa people, like I said, do not trust the soldiers at all. And it feels like it is just something we just do say. They don't really take us serious. You even see they are posting online. You don't see them trying to reach out to gain back the trust of the people. They just feel they are right in whatsoever it is that they do, and that is really unfortunate and really unfair.
All right. Let me take us back a little bit. You made mention of the fact that there's something he said from the start of the conversation, talking about, yes, the shootings that happen in Angwan Rukuba community. You said something like, oh, the people thought it was the usual shootings. Now, and I'm here wondering why there are usual shootings within this community just like this. Because if the entire locals of Angwan Rukuba would mistake that shooting that happened on Palm Sunday night for a recent occurrence, for a normal occurrence within the community, it means that something happens within the Angwan Rukuba community that calls for the presence of security personnel at intervals. That's one. Secondly, there is an insider within those people, I think, that also are aware of the recent happenings, because they know that the people would mistake these shootings for the common shootings or the shootings that happen all the time. Because from the accounts we had with him and the person we had interviewed, the day before about these incidents, they said almost the same thing. And the people were not moving because they thought that it was the normal presence of security. So nobody was moving. And that's why they were able to shoot at a lot of people. People were standing thinking it was. So tell us why there is a need for the presence of security every time, as you have pointed out in Angwan Rukuba. Why do they come to shoot in that community?
Okay, quite unfortunately, there is this sale of drugs around that particular axis.
Okay.
So I personally feel this is something we also need the help of the government on.
Okay.
Yes, but if something like that is to happen, is as a result of unemployment. If the youths are well equipped, if the youths are given jobs, are given good jobs, are given the right things to do, right? I feel they will not be out there selling drugs. But then those gunshots that we do have at different intervals is
Are you with us, Manuel?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, go on.
Go ahead.
If we are to have these kind of gunshots, it's as a result of the NDLEA coming to actually raid such kind of places. And even though the NDLEA are trying to do their job, I don't think it is actually necessary storming in with gunshots. Because that keeps scaring the people, and as you can see, people are already used to that pattern that they just feel it's even a normality right now.
Yeah.
So that is something to actually look at also. In as much as, yes, they are doing their jobs, we appreciate that, but I feel there is still the right way of doing some of these things. Storming a place, shooting and all that doesn't really help. So that is the reason why you get to see the people being relaxed, thinking it was the usual, because that is how they do come around.
All right. Emmanuel, we saw Governor Buffon condemn the attack. Also, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be visiting Plateau State if it's not already there now. Now, in your view, are the state governments and the federal authorities, are they doing enough to protect the lives of citizens?
This I will speak 100% as a Nigerian.
Yeah.
This they are not. They honestly are not, and we cannot hide this fact. We cannot hide this fact. We cannot massage this fact. Insecurity is already something that nobody expected to escalate to this extent. But unfortunately, it is escalating even the more. Insecurity. The people are not even. If they can shoot someone in the comfort of his house, then I think everybody has a reason to be scared. So talking about insecurity, the government are not doing enough. In fact, I feel basically they are doing nothing as far as I'm concerned. I feel they are doing nothing because we shouldn't have gotten here in the first place. But unfortunately, we are here and it's still de-escalating.
How does this repeated attack?
The government are not helping.
Okay. Again, how do these repeated attacks affect the investment opportunities of Plateau State? Because this is not the first time this is happening. Just like you stated, there has been recurrent attacks even in the past. How does this affect the investment opportunities for Plateau State? How does it affect students, also families who want to relocate to Plateau and get to live in Plateau State?
This really affects. In fact, since 2001, which was the first crisis, we have been trying to see how things get better. Unfortunately, a lot of companies do not want to get here because you are afraid that your company might end up getting burnt. Your clients might just not want to come down to the place where they feel there's killings daily. Because in fact, a lot of people feel literally we are being killed on a daily. In fact, we are being killed on a daily basis.
Wow.
Even though yes, it is from different communities, not really in the center of Plateau State. But yes, that affects business. Like for example, myself, I had to close down my business because of what is going on around this axis. And a lot of people who would want to come around to actually patronize me will not do that because they are actually scared of their lives. And we have a lot of business people who are actually undergoing this kind of difficulties currently.
All right, Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us on the conversation today. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Do have a lovely day today. Thank you for the account.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
And please do stay safe out there.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you. Well, we've been speaking with Emmanuel Kinaro Ishaya, a Jos resident who has been giving us the account of the situation going on in Jos Plateau State. Do record that we did read out to you that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be visiting Jos Plateau State, to speak with residents and also get to to share his concerns regarding the situation that has gone on, or that's going up currently in Jos right now. And something that Emmanuel did say that also caught me: the fact that people no longer trust the military personnel of our country is so disturbing. People who we are supposed to naturally lean towards in times of crisis are the people that we're scared of the most. And that was exactly what Emmanuel did tell us whilst we're having this particular conversation with him. But let's get your concluded thoughts on this matter, Martha.
Well, it's the exact same thing. And just so that, in fact, there's nothing wrong with overflogging the issue, because there's no overflogging the issue, especially when it comes to the lives of people. And yes, he made a very not exactly shocking revelation, talking about how those people the military served as a blockade for the attackers. He made mention of the fact that these people were, out there attacking. The youths would have probably gone to confront them, because if you stay, you die. If you go, you still die. This is the exact case. And from the conversation I had with a number of youth from the community, they said they were willing to go and stop the attack. At least let someone be caught, so that there can be some sort of trail whatsoever. But the military was on the road, adamant about letting those youth get into the community. Now, we don't know exactly why that was done. Maybe the military will come out to say, oh, they were protecting the lives of the people. But you cannot protect the people that are just within the checkpoint. There are people within the community that you're supposed to launch into the community to protect. And the people who are willing to do your job, you stopped at the checkpoint. See, there are so many indications from the number of attacks that have happened across Nigeria that this is a coordinated attack. And I'll give you an example. I will always use the example of the general who was killed, recently. Gave his coordinates, shared his coordinates with his fellow military men, and all of a sudden he was spotted and he was killed. Secondly, in Niger State, the attack on St. Mary's School, boarding school, it was the military themselves admitted that they got an intel, mounted there, and were called to retreat. 45 minutes later, the school was ravaged and students were kidnapped from the school. All of these are indicators that there are pointers to personal interest. There are pointers to the fact that there are people within the system that encourage these attacks to happen. So it is the responsibility of the government to find these people and bring them to book. Now, if we continue to say, oh, we would give out support to the families, there is no compensation that is ever enough to bring the life of the lost back.
None at all.
There's absolutely no kind of compensation that can be given to a person who has lost a loved one. So what you are doing is literally just looking for solutions after the problem has come and gone. Right. And if this happens Well, not to instigate the youth, but it is time they ask questions, important questions. Why does this continue to happen? Why just Plateau? This state has not rested in this ever since the 2000s. There have been attacks. There were times when the market in Terminus was bombed. There were times when key infrastructure places in Jos were bombed and people lost their lives in their numbers.
Right.
In 2026, we're dealing with the exact same thing. It means something is fundamentally wrong. There must have been an interest in Jos Plateau that the government or the necessary bodies are not coming out clean to speak about.
Very true.
It is time to go back to the drawing board. On Twitter, sometime this week, I saw a tweet where the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2014 tweeted about taking out the government of the day at the time from office because of their inability to protect Nigerians.
Of course.
And it was the exact same case playing out. The Chibok girls, the bombings here and there in Nyanya, and the president was talking specifically about the bombing that took place in Nyanya that took the lives of a lot of people at that bus terminal at that time. So what has changed? Why has your interest changed?
Right.
If in 2014 you think that that government should be called back home because they cannot protect the lives of people, why is 2026 different?
Well, these are questions that are begging for answer. Again, we hope that the government of the day can actually swing into action and ensure that these bandits that are ravaging our society are going to be flushed out and we can live in peace within our communities. With that being said, this is all we're going to be taking on today's edition of the Rapid Dawn. Do remember that you can follow us on all our social media pages across all platforms at Rapid TV. And you can get to rewatch our episodes on our official platform on YouTube, which is at Official Rapid TV. And wherever you are in the world, you can get to watch us live using our website at www.arabianradiotv.com. My name is Victor RK.
And my name is Martha Alu. We'll see you tomorrow.